Welcome. Today's topic takes us to the heart of the ancient world, Mesopotamia, the land where humanity built its first cities, wrote its first laws, and recorded its first stories. This is the story of how civilization began. Between two rivers, where life and destruction flowed side by side, humans learned not only to survive, but to shape the world itself. Thousands of years ago, before cities or written words existed, humans lived as hunters and gatherers. They moved constantly in search of food. But along the banks of the Tigris and Euphrates, everything changed. Floodwaters enriched the soil, creating fertile plains where crops could grow. People discovered that if water was managed, food could be secured. In southern Mesopotamia, rainfall was rare and floods unpredictable. Communities dug canals and built dikes, channeling water to fields in dry seasons and diverting it in times of flood. This irrigation transformed agriculture, making it reliable. Surplus crops allowed populations to grow, villages to stabilize, and permanent settlements to emerge. With steady harvests came trade. Mesopotamia had fertile land, but lacked many natural resources. The people exported grain, barley, dates, textiles, and pottery, while importing wood, stone, copper, tin, and precious stones. Rivers served as highways, and caravans traveled over land. Trade carried not only goods, but ideas, technologies, and cultural practices, linking distant cities and regions. The Phoenicians, centuries later, would become famous as seafaring traders and transmitters of the alphabet, which shaped Greek, Roman, and modern scripts. Mesopotamia's architecture reflected both necessity and ingenuity. With almost no stone, mud, clay, and reeds were mixed into bricks, shaped and dried under the sun, or baked in kilns. Entire cities rose from this humble material. Houses were built around inner courtyards. Palaces dominated the centers of cities, and temples and ziggurats towered above, symbolizing both devotion and power. City walls and gates protected inhabitants from raiders. Yet the fragile material explains why so few Mesopotamian buildings survive today. The first great civilization in this region was created by the Sumerians, emerging around 4000 BCE. Their cities, Uruk, Ur, Lagash, and Kish, were independent city-states, each controlling surrounding villages through networks of canals and tribute. These cities were not merely settlements. They were centers of politics, religion, and economy. Rulers maintained irrigation, organized labor, collected taxes, and commanded armies, all under the belief that their authority came from the gods. Among the Sumerians' most influential inventions were the wheel and cuneiform writing. The wheel revolutionized transport, trade, and warfare. Cuneiform, beginning as simple pictographs, evolved into symbols representing sounds. Writing allowed trade to be recorded, laws to be enforced, religious rituals to be documented, and stories to be preserved. Scribes emerged as essential members of society, trained in specialized schools within temples. They recorded knowledge, administered cities, and ensured the continuity of civilization. One early artifact, the Stele of Ashumgo, c. 2900 to 2700 BCE, bears witness to the authority of rulers and the administration of Sumerian society. Religion played a central role. Ziggurats served as sacred mountains, connecting the earthly city to the divine. Priests managed these temples, studied the stars, recorded celestial events, healed the sick, and educated young scribes. Astronomy became vital for agriculture, helping predict floods, planting, and harvest times. Mathematics measured land, planned canals, and calculated trade. Medicine combined observation and ritual to treat illness and injuries. Temples thus became the first centers of learning, laying the groundwork for the preservation of knowledge. As civilizations grew, law and governance became essential. Babylon, rising after the Sumerians, became a center of legal and political power. Hammurabi, one of Babylon's most famous rulers, created a written law code, carved in stone for public display. These laws regulated trade, property, family life, and punishment, reinforcing order in a growing urban society. Kings were depicted as larger than life, emphasizing divine authority and political control. Under Nebuchadnezzar II, Babylon reached unprecedented grandeur. Massive walls protected the city, while the Ishtar Gate, adorned with lions and dragons, symbolized divine protection and royal power. Palaces, temples, and markets filled the streets. The great Ziggurat of Marduk dominated the skyline, a spiritual and political heart of the city. The legendary Hanging Gardens, possibly created under Semiramis, demonstrated the heights of engineering and aesthetics achieved by human hands. Babylon's monumental architecture and decoration reflected its wealth, religion, and the power of its rulers. Conflict was a constant in Mesopotamia. Armies equipped with bronze and later iron weapons, shields, helmets, and war chariots defended city-states. Wars were fought over land, water, and trade routes. Many attacks came from neighboring mountains or migrating peoples. Cities built thick walls and fortified gates to withstand these threats. Despite war and migration, knowledge and culture survived through scribes, schools, and the written word. Mesopotamian culture also thrived in art and literature. Reliefs, statues, and ceremonial gates celebrated kings and gods. Literature, most famously the Epic of Gilgamesh, explored friendship, mortality, and the pursuit of immortality. Within it lies the story of a great flood, sent by the gods to punish humanity, one of the earliest known flood myths, echoing through generations. Life in Mesopotamian cities was complex. Rulers controlled politics and armies. Priests preserved knowledge, scribes managed records, and merchants traded goods. Ordinary people lived in mud brick houses with courtyards, participating in a society transformed by inventions like the wheel and writing. Irrigation systems allowed crops to flourish, supporting urban growth and economic development. The combined impact of these innovations reshaped social structures, governance, and culture. Mesopotamia was home to Sumerians, Akkadians, Babylonians, and Assyrians who built city-states, managed canals, and established trade networks. The Tigris and Euphrates fed crops and commerce, while inventions, literature, law, and art formed a civilization that endured despite wars, migrations, and changing rulers. Through writing, monumental architecture, irrigation, and trade, Mesopotamia taught humanity how to organize society, preserve knowledge, and pass it on across generations. Its contributions, cities, laws, writing, ziggurats, and literature formed the foundation of civilization itself. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this journey into the origins of civilization, like, share, and subscribe for more stories from humanity's ancient past.